Jai Hind, dear children. Welcome to science class. Today we are going to continue with the chapter Transportation in Animals and Plants. In the last class we have discussed about the transportation in human beings, the importance of transportation, the circulatory system in humans, blood, the functions of blood and its components, blood vessels, different types of blood vessels and its functions, heart, its structure and functions. Today we can learn about the transportation in plants and the excretion in animals. First, let us study about the excretion in animals. See children, so many metabolic activities takes place in our cells, and as a result of these chemical reactions, so many waste substances are produced. If these waste substances accumulate in our body, what will happen? It will cause so many disorders in our body. So these waste should be removed. Now let us learn about the removal of these waste from our body. We have already learned in the chapter respiration that as a result of cellular respiration, carbon dioxide is produced as waste and it is removed from our body through exhalation process, right? And the another waste, that is undigested food, which is removed from our body through digestion. Now, when our cells perform their functions, other than carbon dioxide, so many other waste materials such as urea, uric acid, etc. are released in our cells as a result of certain chemical reactions. The waste materials are collected by the blood and transported throughout the body. And these nitrogenous waste substances are toxic and need to be removed from the blood. This process of removal of waste produced in the cells of living organisms is called as excretion. For removing these nitrogenous waste, there is present an excretory system in humans. The parts which are involved in the removal of waste forms the excretory system. So here in humans, the excretory system consists of a pair of kidney, a pair of tubes called ureters, a urinary bladder and urethra. Kidney is a bean-shaped red-colored organ. Kidneys are attached to the dorsal body wall on either side of the vertebral column in the abdominal cavity. To both the kidneys, there enters the renal artery and renal vein. The arteries carries blood from the heart to the kidney, and the renal vein collects the blood back from the kidney to the heart. From both the kidneys, there arises a thin-walled tubular structure called ureters. Both the ureters opens into the urinary bladder, which is a muscular bag-like structure where the urine is collected, and this urine is released from the urinary bladder through a muscular tube-like structure called urethra. The excretory system, the renal artery carries the blood from the heart to the kidney, and the waste which is present in the blood is removed by the mechanism of filtration of blood, and this is done by the blood capillaries present in the kidney. The filtration is mainly done by the help of a functional unit called nephrons present in the kidney. When the blood reaches the two kidneys, it contains both useful and harmful substances. The useful substances are absorbed back into the blood. The waste dissolved in the water are removed as urine. From the kidney, the urine is collected by the ureters into the urinary bladder and is stored in the bladder and passed out through the urinary openings at the end of the muscular tube called urethra. So how is urine formed? The urine is formed in the kidneys. The blood containing the waste is collected to the kidneys, and in the kidney the filtration takes place and the waste is collected in the form of urine. An adult human being normally pass 1 to 1.8 liter of urine per day, and the urine contains 95% of water, 2.5% of urea, and 2.5% of other waste products. We all have experienced that we sweat on hot summer day, no? The sweat contains water and salt. The skin removes excess water from the body, urea and uric acid in the form of sweat.
You know, the sweat also contains the waste products of our body. The sweat glands present under the skin secrete sweat, which comes out through small pores in the skin called sweat pores. The body gets rid of some urea, excessive salt and water through the sweat. So we can say the skin too is an excretory organ of our body.
Does sweat serve any other function? Yes, we know that the water kept in an earthen pot is cooler. This is because the water evaporates from the pores of the pot, which causes cooling. Similarly, when we sweat, it helps to cool our body.
Why do we sweat when it is too hot? The sweat also helps in regulating body temperature. When the sweat evaporates from the body surface, it collects heat from the body. Hence, the body becomes cooler. This is the reason why we feel cooler after sweating.
Excretory product in other animals. The way in which waste chemicals are removed from the body of the animal depends on the availability of water.
Not only humans, other animals too eliminate waste through urine. You must have seen other animals urinating, like the dog, cat, cow, etc. You know, aquatic animals eliminate waste as gas, like ammonia, which gets dissolved into the water. Lizard, snake excrete as semi-solid white color substance, the uric acid, to save water. The microscopic organisms like amoeba, bacteria, etc. don't have a developed excretory system. So these animals just eliminate waste from cell directly in the diffusion process. You know, a person can live a healthy life with just one kidney. But sometimes, due to diseases like diabetes, etc., or negligence, both the kidneys may get damaged. Such persons cannot survive unless their blood is filtered periodically. Now, how can this be done? You know, the blood is filtered artificially using machine. This process is called dialysis. In this process, the doctor connects the blood vessels of the patient to the dialysis machine. The impure blood flows through the machine and gets filtered. The blood is then led back to the patient's body through a vein. Hence, the dialysis machine is also called the artificial kidney.
Next, we can study about the transportation in plants. Like all other living organisms, plants also require food for their survival. Plants obtain food by the process of photosynthesis.
How are food and water carried in the plants? The food is prepared by the leaves. How does the food prepared in the leaves reach all the parts of the plant? The minerals and the water absorbed by the roots need to reach the leaves where they can be used. So, the plants need transportation system too, just like the animals. There are many kinds of plants, from small herbs to huge trees. So, the transportation system in plants vary a little with the plant type, but the basic is the same in all types of plants. The food, water, and minerals get carried through the pipe-like structure formed by the special tissues. And if you remember, tissues are a group of cells that perform a specific task. The water is the transport medium, that is, the water carries the minerals as the plants don't have blood like us. As we know, the roots absorb the water and the minerals from the soil, and the pipeline which is used to transport it to the leaves is made of special tissues called xylem. Now let us perform an experiment to understand the functioning of the xylem. Cut a herb with a white flower. Place the stem inside a beaker half filled with water. Now put a few drops of red ink in the water and stir it well. Keep it undisturbed and watch what happens the next day. The next day, you will see that the few red lines have appeared in the stem and the petals of the flower. Why? It is because the red water rose through the pipeline of xylem tissues in the stem to reach the flower. So we see the xylem tissue cells form a continuous network of channels to connect the roots to the leaves, to the stem and the branches. Thus, water is transported to the leaves. Now the question is, how the water rises up the xylem tissue, or how can the water from the roots reach even the leaves of the very tall trees? You know, the leaves release water. How? We already know the water evaporates through the stomata present on the surface of leaves by the process of transpiration. This evaporation of water from the leaves generate a suction pull or an upward pull, and the water rises from the xylem to make up for the lost water. So, the water absorbed through the roots feel an upward pull because of the loss of water in the leaves through the transpiration process. You know, this upward pull is just like the upward pull which will make the drink rise through the straw when we drink any juice or cola through the straw. Imagine you are drinking any juice or cola using a straw. When you suck the drink through the straw, the upper part of the liquid column enters your mouth, and more drink enters into the straw to make up for that empty place. And this is how we are able to drink using the straw. So now you know how the water rises up the xylem tissue. The xylem forms a continuous network of channels that connects the roots to the leaves through the stem and the branches, and thus transports water to the leaves. Now the question is, how do roots absorb water from the soil? To understand this, let us perform an experiment. Take a large potato and peel off its outer skin. Cut it into two halves. Now make a deep and hollow cavity in one half. Fill the half of the cavity with sugar solution and mark the level by a pin in the wall of the potato. Put the potato in a petri dish with little water. Keep it untouched for few hours. What do we see? The water level inside the potato cavity rises. How did this happen? The water traveled from one cell to the neighbor cell, and thus it entered the cavity inside the potato from the outside. You know, this is the same way in the plant The water reaches the xylem from the root hair through other cells. The roots have the root hair. The root hair absorbs the water and mineral nutrients dissolved in the water as they are in the contact with the water present between the soil particles. For the very short distances, the water and the dissolved minerals can move from one cell to another and reach the xylem tissues of the roots from the soil. And how is the food transported to all the parts of the plants? Well, the food prepared by the leaves reaches all the parts of the plants through a pipeline made of special tissues which are called phloem. Just like the xylem tissue, the phloem tissue also forms a continuous pipeline to transport the food to all the parts of the plants. So now you know the xylem transports the water and minerals from the roots to the leaves, and the phloem transports the food from the leaves to all the other parts of the plants.
Transpiration in plants. We know that roots absorb water and minerals from the soil. But most of the water absorbed is lost in the form of water vapor into the air. This process is called transpiration. Let's learn about how transpiration takes place in plants. In plants, the water required is absorbed by the roots from the soil with the help of root hairs by a process called osmosis. The water is further transported upwards through the stems to the leaves through xylem, which acts as a pipeline. Xylem cells have thick walls. Water then enters in mesophyll cell through stomata. Stomata are openings on the leaf surface through which transpiration takes place. The stomata are surrounded by guard cells which help the stomata to open and close. Transpiration takes place during daytime when the stomata are open.
So in this video, we have discussed about the excretion in humans and other animals, transportation of food materials, water and minerals in plants, and the transpiration in plants and its importance. I hope you all understood the contents that we have discussed in this video. Now read the textbook thoroughly and prepare the notes and study well. Thank you.